What's going on, guys? Bel Air here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Evoh. Dignitas were one of the 4 rosters who qualified for the main event of the Shift Summer League, the SSL tournament, as it were. And Evoh is a part of that Dignitas roster on paper, but he finds himself in a little bit of a weird spot with Dignitas, currently being on the bench for their main event team. And seemingly only being on this roster so they could field a team while Stizzy is playing on a pickup team in Europe right now. I wanted to talk a little bit about Evoh's history and how we got to this point, as he's going to rip a goal to the other side. And this is from Open Qualifier 3, in which Dignitas made a top 4 appearance. But the reason that we're going all the way back to Open Qualifier 3 before we get to Evoh's history is because this is the last time, as Arsenal tries to go for a psycho, this is the last time that we saw Evoh in a main event. They had kept him on the roster for the entirety of the first split this season. But let me actually take a step back and circle back to that by first talking about the history of Evoh and his career up to this point. So, gets picked up by XSET Gaming as a young player who was just about to be old enough to qualify for RLCS events, so they picked him up and they sat on him for a second thinking, you know, this will be the player who will kind of get us there. Kind of similar to what Vitality did with Zen, where they picked him up before he could play. At least that's how I recall it. After only playing a single qualifier with that XSET team, they benched him. And everybody said, what? Why? What happened? And I won't act like I know what happened, because I don't. But after sitting as a benched player for them for some time, ultimately XSET released him from his contract, and he was picked up by Dignitas, who at the time had 2 players alongside him in Andy and Drees. So that team does pretty well. They end up making a LAN event. And they definitely were not a strong team at that LAN event, but hey, making a LAN is making a LAN. There's very few teams who are able to do that. So we were all saying, hey, look, new situation here for Evoh. Clearly this has been beneficial for him. Let's see where they'll be able to go from here. This season, a little bit harder to make those LANs. And along the way, we have a new roster of Arsenal and Gyro to go alongside Evoh. Goes pretty well. I would say it peaked at this Open Qualifier 3 here. They end up making a top 4. Unfortunately, not enough cumulative points to make the major, but hey, great showing. We'll see what they're going to do in the second split. And in that interim, during the trade window, they grabbed Stizzy, the European player, to come over. And my thought was, all right, cool. So they're clearly trying to grab a couple young stars here and just up the quality of talent that you have on this team. Gyro goes to the bench. It's been a long time, player in the scene, and hey, maybe it's just a different phase of his career. He's gonna, be a support role off the pitch for this team and come in when they need him. And that only lasted for 1 qualifier as well. What is it with Evoh and only getting a single qualifier for these teams? Of course, the situation is a little different, but then my joke doesn't work. So Open Qualifier 4, they don't make the main event. They are a game away. They go up against NRG and they lose in a game 5. NRG make the main event. Dignitas are eliminated, and they say, okay, this just is not working for whatever reason. Again, any information that I have is speculative as to why Evoh was moved to a substitute role, but they bring Gyro back in, and then Dignitas played the remainder of the season with Evoh on the bench. So that's how we got back to here. This is Open Qualifier 3 that we're watching. Evoh and company do incredibly well, and then they opt to grab Stizzy after this event that we're watching here. A little bit on Evoh. He's a little bit of a weird one on the stat sheet. He definitely is mechanical. but he is, when I think of players in North America, this isn't a slight to him. This is a compliment to the talent. He's not one of the first players that I think of for like the most elite level mechanics, and even structuring this quality this way seems unfair, because how many people can contend with, you know, the LJs or even Chronic on the offensive end, those kind of players. And of course, we're leaving out a ton of names to be reductive. But Evoh's on the stat sheet, the main thing that he stands out with is his ability to get saves as a goal line presence. We see him over the course of this game so far playing a lot of low backboard defense and denying this luminosity attack. Arsenal's going to get a flick over here, and this one's actually going to die, as we have Evoh with a goal, an assist, and 2 saves to his name on 2 shots. So let's go hop over to another game, talk a little bit more about Evoh, the player on the pitch, what this Shift Summer League and off-season are going to mean to him, and what some of the next steps might be. Game 6 from the quarterfinals of the playoffs from that Open Qualifier 3 that we were just watching. A pretty fortunate draw here. They get Pirates on a boat, who, you know, if you have to draw somebody in the playoffs, you're fairly happy with Pirates on a boat. This team is no slouch. We, of course, just did a video yesterday on 5-Up, but, you know, if you got to pick somebody, Dignitas is probably pretty happy to get Pirates on a boat. Now, like we said at the jump, Evoh is playing for Dignitas on this Shift Summer League roster. I find it hard to believe, and of course, again, I think it's important for me to say, all speculation. I have no idea, but I feel like it's hard to imagine a situation where after benching Evoh so early into this major split 2, they say, hey, you know what? Let's bring Evoh back alongside Stizzy. I would say they're probably, you know, after bringing over Stizzy, they're probably the most connected to him as a player. But I would assume that this is probably just a tryout for Evoh to kind of showcase his talents for any other team who might want to pick him up over the course of this offseason, which is a big moment for him. I think it's important that they were able to make that main event, and we'll kind of see where they go from here. They grab Zanil as well, who is, you know, coming onto this roster to play. Maybe that's somebody that they're looking to kind of spotlight here alongside Stizzy and keeping one maybe Arsenal-esque player. But I just doubt that it's going to be Evoh, but I digress. Now, the thing that is exciting about Evoh is many things, but again, we talked at the beginning about how statistically on the defensive end he's pretty great. I think one of the things that stands out for him is the ability to play at different speeds. He can go really fast. He commonly is the furthest player back for the rosters that he has been on, and he seems to kind of bring momentum where he'll, you know, we see him here creating distance, and now he'll come full force at the ball and then try and, you know, break down teams in transition or with solo plays or what have you. And his ability to go fast, and then we'll see him kind of lose control of a potential air dribble there. But he can play up-tempo or down-tempo, can adjust that on the fly with his attacks at a pretty great level. And if we see one of those here over the course of the second half of this game, I'll be sure to point that out. Now, what is next for Evoh? I look at him as kind of like a Jonathan Kuminga type player that's been on the Warriors right now. Of course, Evoh has actually moved around, and Kuminga has just been a hypothetical trade piece for the Warriors for quite a few seasons, but it's like, we know the talent is there. If he's going to get another shot, he's got to make the most of it. And that's kind of where, you know, Kuminga finds himself, where it's like, hey, we've seen him in spots where other players have been injured. Now they trade away Klay Thompson, so he's probably going to get a bigger look. And this is kind of it, you know? Exet didn't go very well. Dignitas hasn't gone very well. And not that this is it. Evoh will continue to find opportunities. He's still incredibly young and talented. But so far as being an option that top-tier LAN contending players look at as kind of a second scoring option for your team, I think Evoh's next opportunity is probably going to be his best one that he might have in the near future. So making the most of the Shift Summer League is going to be big for his resume, and we'll kind of see what teams are looking for afterwards. There's a lot of teams. We're going to have a lot of movement here in North America that he could potentially go to. I don't think that he would be a good option for a Shopify Rebellion type. I think that they probably want either a more proven commodity in a more veteran player, or they might go with somebody who is a little bit more of a scoring presence. And Evoh is not really a standout scorer. He is more of a passer and defender. His goal scoring is actually one of his weakest assets statistically, as I caster curse him into a goal as soon as I'm saying he doesn't score here. And 34 seconds left on the clock in what could potentially be a closeout game here. So let's see how Evoh is able to fare. As Gyro is going to hold onto this ball here, it's going to float. Eris is going to pop up for it. And again, just kind of keeping our distance here. Evoh is going to gladly float back as Gyro's waiting for that mid boost to spawn. Tries to get up to beat 5 up here, but is not quick enough. And that creates a really dangerous opportunity here in transition that they are still scrambling to get out of. That missed opportunity there by Evoh has caused quite a bit of residual problem here, as Dignitas are still trying to climb their way out of defense and fortunately find themselves into an overtime here. Something that stood out quite a bit when I was looking over this event is that they played so many overtimes, especially in the Swiss stage. So many overtimes. None against the Luminosity that we just watched them 3-0, but they 3-0'd OG. I think 2 or all 3 of those were overtimes. And whom else they played right now is escaping me, but a lot of stuff like that. And that's a good opportunity. Remember we were talking about the different speeds? Here we go. 5 up tries to lace one. Cannot do it. We're going in transition. Evoh's moving in here, and watch him. Doesn't boost into the ball. Doesn't try to go quick. Knows that they're going to scramble, and just takes a nice little dunk there with 26 boosts still left to his name. So Evoh almost up to 500 points. A goal, 2 saves to his name on 5 shots. I have a little bit more that I want to talk about and watch a little more gameplay. So let's hop over to their eventual loss in the semis to G2 and see how Evoh can fare against some of the best that the region has to offer. Game 3 semifinals. Dignitas surprisingly opened this one up with a win, 1-0 against G2. G2 battled back, and I think won game 2 with a 2-1 scoreline. So this is a big game here. If Dignitas can't win this, we know how good G2 are. It gets even more complicated to try and win that many in a row. So a big deciding game here to see if they can take a series lead and keep a series lead against G2, who eventually made every single grand finals over the course of the season. As Evoh tries to get a little bit of a pass set up and then is going to keep this one in play. You know, we've been watching quite a few videos recently for new and upcoming players, and this is a good opportunity to show the difference in how more elite and seasoned rosters, if you will, can hold more controlled offense, as over the entire time it took me to explain this, G2 have kept us in the Dignitas half, and Dignitas were trying to do the same on the other end when that point began. So Evoh's going to take his time here, not really too worried about demos that might be coming in, and is going to try and get out in transition here. Doesn't have any boost, so tries to just make something out of this, put beast mode into an awkward position, but unfortunately Dignitas will double commit, as Evoh is just going to pop here and leave the ball. It seemed like it might have been a good opportunity for a solo play, but you know, what are you going to do? Going to wait off ball here. This one's getting kind of dangerous, so Evoh's going to back up. Decides to kill all of his boost and just backflip into it. Got very fortunate that he didn't get demoed there, as he got bumped by a G2 player. Gets up early for this one and is going to slot it top right. So look, here we have Gyro in transition, beats one, can't score it there, but Arsenal's going to keep this in play, and then Evoh just up so fast to put that away. You know, we were talking about that ability to show different speeds. There's Evoh going full burst to put that one up. Daniel doesn't even anticipate that somebody will be there to beat him that quick. Grab some pennies on the way back here. Just playing. He likes to kind of sit high up in that box there and see how the play is going to develop. Doesn't want to allow any passes into the box to beat them easily. Make the opponents work for their goals. Tries to just get a lot of power on that one. Unfortunately, Daniel is waiting right there for it as Evo's getting bumped around. This one's getting real shaky, but Dignitas are about to break out here, it looks like. As Atomic is going to bait Arsenal to just hand him the ball over. And here we go. Full field the other way. Gyro cuts in. And again, Evoh is fine to just... He's not really boosting too much. Looks like he's trying to save it. He knows that this is a game that may be determined in many ways by the boost, so wants to keep a little in the tank when possible. And now he finds himself out, so he is going to look to keep on pennies to get back into the play here. Gets floated across. There's Evoh, comfortable as always on that low backboard. Going to take some backboard action again, but gets out quickly to try and charge down Atomic. And this one looks dangerous. Gyro's all alone, lost momentum, and that is going to be a goal. Let's look at that one more time. So Evo's kind of got to get something on that, or else look where Gyro, he's just kind of stuck, and even if he wouldn't have had that, Beast Mode was there for the cleanup, and that's the danger about playing G2. You got to make all of those challenges count, otherwise they will burn you if they have numbers. Another one that kind of gets away from Evoh here, that's a couple where the first touches when he's trying to take those solo plays aren't quite as crisp as you would like. A couple just easy turnovers. Seems to be a lot more comfortable making plays out of his own defensive end. That was a cool little kind of momentum keeper, but was unable to keep on the ball as he's weighing things out. Is going to take that big boost in the corner, and here comes Evoh full speed again. He's going to pull off, knows he has this ball. How's this first touch? Not super crisp, but does beat Atomic. It seems like that's really been plaguing Evoh in these couple of games that we've watched, that ability to create good offensive opportunities off of your first touch. Little out of the play here, and also is trying to charge back with no boost. Not optimal positioning, but Evoh, again, is very comfortable in this back line here. Picks up full. It's going to wait. Probably going to be the first here against Daniel. Tries to force him up, but Daniel just kills him. And I am not by any means a high-level Rocket League player, but my understanding is here is you want to force Daniel to try and go low. You don't want him to be able to go over you, because in going over and not getting ball or man, Daniel can just set this one up off the backboard. It was a great touch with momentum. Gyro tries to clear. A nice little deflection by Daniel, but you know, in a big moment there, that was a bit of a killer. Let's see if Evoh can get us back on here. Is going to try and change things up, which we like to see. Goes full field. Is trying to get a bump on Beast Mode the opposite way. It was a pretty good offensive opportunity, so maybe he could have been helpful in the box. But it seems like where Evoh would really thrive is with teams that have high-level scorers. That was a good opportunity. Tried to go off speed there against Daniel. Gets a demo in Beast Mode, trying to hunt for a third so Arsenal can create something. And that was all Evoh, man. That's not going to show up on the stat sheet, but look at this. So Arsenal throws one down. Beast Mode, awful touch. Probably could have tried to send that one other side, but probably thought he could outwit Daniel by going opposite of where he would think. And that demo just clears it up. Big play there by Evoh in the waning moments to get them even on the board here. Does this one go overtime? I can't remember from looking at it beforehand, but G2 are great at last second goals, excuse me. This one is dangerous. Yeah, it stinks. How does this one? It looks like he gets air dribble bumped, excuse me, by Beast Mode. Great position, man. I mean, he had the read. Here, you kind of... I really don't think with 0 seconds you want to try and take this back across your own goal, especially with no boost. Tries to read that one, and that was just a really heads-up touch by Atomic. He knows that Gyro and Evoh are moving with momentum across the box, so instead of trying to take the shot, essentially alley-oops it to beast mode here. 0 seconds, Evoh with the catch, and yeah, another one that kind of slips away from him. So a little bit of a Jaylen Brown handle down the stretch there. Evoh not always able to make the optimal first touches. Of course, he could be a very gifted first touch player, just not in the games that we watched today. So that's certainly always something to consider and caveat. But I would say my big takeaways from this is that Evoh is somebody who is great in some of these big moments. You know, we saw that ability to clear the goal line and make space for his teammates to tie us up at the death against G2. But then it's a little bit of a feast or famine. Trying to bring that ball across your own goal line in the waning seconds was probably not exactly what you wanted to do. But Evoh, still an incredibly young player who will continue to improve as his career progresses. Kind of reminds me of a player like Drees, who has got the opportunity to be on a couple quality rosters. At least that's what I'm anticipating Evoh will find next season. But hey, maybe I'm completely wrong, and he's just going to be back on Dignitas, and they'll go all young with a stizzy Zanil Evoh kind of thing and move off of, kind of that legacy talent that's on their roster. So much to be decided for all of these teams. I'm sure that this offseason is going to be a crazy one, but no matter what, I always enjoy watching Evoh. He's somebody I typically go out of my way for on game days, especially in Swiss, to try and see how he's performing. So very excited to see what is next for Evoh. And I don't know if I shared our stats before, but there they are. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. What do you think about Evoh? Let me know in the comments below. Interested to see what your takes are on him as a prospect and a player. And who should we watch next? We've got some great recommendations recently. This one actually is from a recommendation. So thank you very much for recommending we watch a little bit of Evoh gameplay. And guys, again, thank you so much. And until next time, take it easy.